Hello and welcome. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're not just going to learn biology, we're going to learn the art of the exam itself. Our mission is to break down a real AQA exam question so you can understand not just the right answer, but why it's right. We're going to get inside the head of the examiner.
I mean, it's a question on everyone's mind, right? You've put in the hours, you know your stuff, but how do you make sure that knowledge turns into the best possible marks on the paper? Well, that is exactly what we're going to get into today. It all comes down to strategy and precision.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We are going to focus our attention on one single multi-part question from a real AQA GCSE Biology paper. By taking this one question apart piece by piece, we're going to pull out some amazing techniques you can use on literally any exam question. And here it is, question 5. It's all about stomata, transpiration, and translocation. We're going to tear this thing apart, part by part. We'll look at the command words, how many marks each bit is worth, and most importantly, what the official mark scheme is actually looking for. Okay, let's start with what I like to call the opening moves. These first few questions are designed to be quick wins. They're absolute gimmies. They test your core knowledge, and they're the perfect way to start banking those marks and build up some serious confidence right at the start. First up, question 5.1, a classic one-marker. Now see that command word, name? That's your clue. It means they want a straight-up recall of a key term, no long explanation needed, just the correct biological name. Simple as that.
And here's the answer, straight from the mark scheme. Guard cells. But hang on, look closely at how it's written. See the brackets around cells? That's a little secret from the examiner. It tells you that if you just wrote guard, you'd still get the mark. Guard cells is obviously better, but it's not essential. That's our first big clue into how examiners think. Precision is everything.
Okay, next up, 5.2. This one's worth 2 marks. The command word here is describe, and it's asking for 2 differences. This is super important. You've got to give 2 separate points, and each one needs to be a direct comparison. Just saying something about transpiration isn't enough. You have to contrast it with translocation. So how do you get those 2 marks? Let's break it down. You could say something like, the transpiration stream involves the xylem, whereas translocation involves the phloem. Boom, that's 1 mark. For the second, you could say, transpiration transports water and minerals, while translocation transports dissolved sugars. There's your second mark. See how each point is a direct comparison? That's the key.
And this is awesome, because it shows you something really important about mark schemes. There's usually more than one way to get the marks. The examiners would have also accepted points about dead cells versus living cells, or the direction of movement, or even whether it needs energy. So you've actually got options. As long as your points are clear and correct comparisons, you're golden.
All right, last of the quick ones, 5.3. It's a multiple choice, which is all about checking your understanding of the factors that affect transpiration. You just have to pick the one right answer. And the correct choice is warm with low humidity. So why is that the answer? Well, think about it. Warm conditions give the water more energy to evaporate, right? And low humidity means the air outside the leaf is really dry. That creates a huge concentration gradient, so water vapor just rushes out of the stomata. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, so we've banked those early marks. Feeling good. Now we get to the main event, the 4-mark explanation question. This is where it gets a bit trickier. It's not just about what you know anymore, it's about how you connect the dots and tell a complete, logical story.
Now, before we even look at the question, they give us this graph. And trust me, you have to spend a second really understanding what it's showing you. We've got time on the bottom, the width of the stomata on the side, and 2 different lines for 2 different conditions. Basically, the keys to the next 6 marks are locked inside this graph. So here it is, question 5.4. 4 marks. That's a big deal. And look at that command word again, explain. That is a massive clue. It means you can't just state facts. You have to link them together. You got to look at that normal conditions line on the graph and explain why those changes are a good thing for the plant. It's all about cause and effect. The absolute best way to tackle this is to build your answer like a story, step by step. Let's walk through the perfect 4-mark answer. Step 1, what happens at night? The stomata are pretty much closed, right? Why? Because there's no light for photosynthesis. That's 1 mark. Step 2, so what's the advantage of that? Well, closing the stomata reduces water loss. Mark number 2. Okay, what about midday? Step 3, the stomata are open their widest because that's when there's maximum light for photosynthesis. There's your 3rd mark. And finally, step 4, the advantage of that It allows the plant to suck in as much carbon dioxide as possible. 4 marks, 4 logical steps. Okay, we're on the home stretch now. The last part of this question is all about reading that data. This is a skill where you have to compare the 2 different lines on the graph and then explain what it all means, based on the evidence right in front of you.
And for the final 2 marks, we have question 5.5. And there's that command word again, explain. This time, you've got to look at the difference between those 2 lines on the graph, the low CO2 line and the normal line, and explain how that difference helps the plant survive.
Now, this is a classic 2-part structure for any data question. You'll see this all the time. The first mark is for just saying what you see on the graph. The stomata are open wider and for a longer time. You're literally just describing the data. The second mark is for explaining why that matters. It allows the plant to take in more carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, which it needs because there's less of it in the air. First, you say what you see, then you say what it means.
And here is another little secret from inside the mark scheme, the word allow. This means the examiner has a list of other acceptable answers or ways of phrasing things. For this question, instead of saying the plant takes in more CO2, you could have said it allows the plant to take in as much CO2 as it normally would. Knowing that they'll accept different wording, as long as the science is right, should give you a ton of confidence.
Okay, so we have totally pulled apart question 5. What's the big picture here? What have we really learned? Let's boil it all down to a kind of examiner's checklist that you can take into any exam with you.
So let's lock in these skills. Number 1, use precise terms. Think guard cells, not just cells. Number 2, when they ask you to compare, make sure you actually state the difference. Don't just list facts. Number 3, for any explain question, build those logical links. It's all about cause and effect. And finally, number 4, use the data. If they give you a graph or a table, your answer has to be based on it. These are the things that take an answer from good to great.
See, when you start thinking like an examiner, you're not just answering the question anymore. You're actively hunting for the marks. You're showing them you get the concepts on a much deeper level. So take these skills, use them in your revision, and get ready to show that exam paper what you know. So, are you ready to tackle the next question? Yeah, you absolutely are.